y'all are just making a minefield for trees. Well, you tell me how many people had a dead tree fall on them. You tell me how many people got injured with chainsaw.
What did y'all do stirring up the freaking TikTok loggers?
Yeah, we weren't even hearing part of that.
Yeah. I got on there and caught up on the comments. I'm like, man, I didn't realize it was so many lumberjacks and loggers in this world.
So what Mark's talking about is on TikTok. If y'all follow our TikTok channel, Jamie, this time of year, man, really it's probably too late right now.
Yeah,
but when
right
y'all
now.
did it, it was like,
Well, according to the guy on TikTok,
You're too early.
Yeah, we're supposed to do it in the fall.
what?
You have a window to do this. Go ahead and finish.
Well, what we're talking about
get
is
into
hack
that.
and squirt. And what it is, it's a way of taking out undesirable trees when you got a lot of them to take out, and you want to open up your canopy, get some sunlight in. That's the whole point of
Well, first off, this is not something that us four sit down like we're going to go out and do it.
We didn't make it up.
No, I mean, we talked to biologists. We had
It was recommended.
several different people from the state look at the property, and they's like, this is what needs to take place to do what y'all want to do.
This is part of forestry management.
Right.
And it's a process in forestry management that you do early in the year.
Yeah.
To get ready to do your prescribed burns to make your forest better.
Yeah. You can start it as when the tree goes dormant. That's when you
not
can start.
putting out green. That's
Right.
that when the leaves start turning.
So we could start it in November or December, but we're deer hunting, so we ain't gonna be
we ain't trying to chop off our woods.
Chopping through the woods.
So we try to catch it in that very end, before the trees start blooming and the sap starts running in the trees, because it will.
So what's the reason behind that? Why would you not put it? Would it kill a tree if you did it to a green tree?
And what they say it'll do is, and I hadn't tried it, but they say it more than likely it will not kill it, because the sap is, it's pulling. It's got a lot of stuff flowing through it. It's back generating leaves and stuff like that. So it's a
it flushes it out.
Cycling it out. It's going to push it out to the limbs.
Right. So that once you hit it and put that chemical in it, it'll just cycle it right out of the tree. So it might stun it, but it may not kill it. So then you got to go back and redo it again.
So when it's dormant, when you hit it with a hatchet, and you spray this chemical on it,
it takes in the chemical. It'll take
into the whole
tree, and it'll kill it from root to the top.
That's what
quick.
Yeah,
less than a year.
And we are not. This is not oak trees. This is, if somebody tells us what to do with Sweetgum trees, we'll do something different. Pretty much, every tree me and Daddy did with Sweetgum trees.
So I had two people looking for loggers for us to, thin,
nobody wants a
thin the
Sweetgum
trees
tree
out and stuff like that. One reason that we do it over on Cypress Corner is when those loggers come, we don't want them coming in there.
Right.
They are going to tear up our roads. They're going to tear up everything over there, and it's just not a accessible piece of property.
Well, it's not enough there for them to be interested in the beginning.
No, they want the big oak trees. That's what we don't want to give.
That's what I said. Plus, as soon as they come in, any of them's ever said anything about us, we want these trees. We want these oak trees. Yeah. We don't want them to give them our old growth oak trees.
And these, what we're killing isn't big enough for a logger to look at anyway.
No.
These ain't but 6 or 8 inches around the base.
Yeah, so you're not talking about killing full-grown 150-foot trees.
No.
These are all new growth.
Yeah. New growth. They're no older than 8-10 years old, probably. Maybe a little older than that.
So why kill them?
Mainly.
What's your goal? What would you say if everybody needs to know the goal of killing those trees?
So the hack and squirt method is good if you don't want to damage your property with equipment. Because if you go in, you start letting loggers come in and stuff like that. And then there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. That if you have the means of doing that, and you have the acreage, and it's beneficial to you,
let them select.
Let them do it. It's a good process.
Yeah.
But like with that piece of property, it's hard to access, and we don't have enough trees in there for them to really, like we said, they want those big oak trees, and we don't want them to get those. So we don't want them tearing the property up, because there's a lot of hills and stuff like that, and they're gonna mess it up. They're
ruts and
yep. They'll turn it into a swamp and erosion and stuff like that. So this process leaves the smallest footprint, as far as damaging the property or anything like that.
Why not cut them down with chainsaw?
So
because they're still alive. You cut it down with the chainsaw.
You still got to come back and spray the stump.
If you've ever cut down a sweet gum, you cut down a sweet gum.
It's gonna make 4 more sweet gums.
Come springtime, 4 sprigs will come out the top of it, and they will take off.
That's what I was getting at.
And we're doing this Sweetgum trees, as far as we know, really no benefit to nothing.
It's an invasive species to our state.
Yeah.
A deer don't eat it, turkey don't eat it, a bird don't eat it, squirrel don't eat it. So we're getting rid of that to let undergrowth for cover for our wildlife,
Habitat.
for food for our wildlife. And
I think most comments are like, well, I can do that with the steel.
yeah,
So-
You can.
You could.
You can't.
No,
but-
you can't in the time y'all done it.
no,
See, that was what I was getting at.
It would
How
take
much
you-
time are you talking about running a chainsaw for weeks?
But not only that, as dense as those thickets are, that
can't
we're
lay-
killing,
yeah, you
they're
can't.
not going to lay down, so
Yeah.
they're going to hang up in other trees, and you're going to constantly be cutting. And now you created a dangerous situation. You got a bunch of hung up trees.
Yeah.
Well, that was another comment people were making about y'all are just making a minefield for trees. Well, you tell me how many people had a dead tree fall on them. You tell me how many people got injured with chainsaw.
Yeah.
That's right.
I ain't finna go out there and stand in the woods just to be hanging out
Yeah,
and see if a
and
limb
where-
will fall on me.
Where we did this, we're not in them woods
No,
every time.
we
we're down
know
there.
where we done it at.
Yeah.
We know if somebody says, "Well, I'm gonna go down there and hunt," hey, we
Don't
killed a bunch
climb
of
that
trees
dead
down
tree.
there.
Yeah.
So if you go in there, just be aware that there's some trees that we killed down through that patch of woods. We didn't
And-
kill every tree.
These
No,
trees don't.
only the sweet gums.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sweet gum
Sweet
trees is all we did.
And two, a guy made a comment on there, and I should have wrote his name down or whatever. But anyways, he was stating, and it makes perfectly sense. And he does this, Hack and Squirt, that killing them this way, the tree loses all its mass. So it's not a 200-pound limb up there. It's dry.
Sucks,
Right.
yeah, full of
Yeah,
water and sap.
It's
It
a
doesn't
bone.
pull. It's not
Yeah.
pulling your moisture out of your ground, so it's letting your desirables grow.
Yeah.
They're not foliating out. You're
Yeah.
not getting all the.
They're not a
leaves, so
heavy
sunlight's
tree
coming
standing
down.
that's going to want to fall.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to fall. But when it falls, it's basically, you already created mulch. When it
Yeah.
hits the ground, it's
Yeah.
going to bust up
Break
because it's
up.
just a dry
Yeah.
piece of wood.
And we saw some of that last year. Now that was one thing I was wondering when you did it. How long is it going to take to kill, just say, a tree that's 6 inches around, 8 inches? Is that about the size of trees y'all looking for? 6 to 8
Yeah,
inches
they were anywhere
Yeah.
from 2 inches in diameter up to about 8 inches, something
Yeah.
like that.
They're dead in 6 months.
So isn't that crazy?
They
They're
may,
standing.
yeah, they may try to foliate in the spring, but they'll be little shriveled up leaves, and then it'll just pretty much from there the process starts of it dying.
Yeah.
So
All
by
right,
the
so-
time we get there, during the fall, the tree's pretty much dead, and as much wind and stuff as we
Yeah.
get. The place where me and Mark done that last year, that whole bottom, the trees have laid down, and they're dead. They're laying on the ground, most of them. There's a few of the bigger ones that are still up, but most of those are on the ground and laying down there. And now it's grass fixing to grow in there, plus the
Yeah.
mulch, and it's good for the ground, and it's just
And
It's
then
a-
all that going to go back and create cover and food and everything
Yeah.
for, all the wildlife.
All right, so why didn't we hinge cut them?
That was another question I had. Y'all know what hinge cutting
Yeah.
is.
so.
So when's the time and place to do that versus
If you want to create a almost an inaccessible thicket for deer or for you
Anything.
but yeah, so when the process of hinge cutting is you're not cutting the tree completely off. You're cutting it until it bends over and it lays on
Kinda
lays
touches the
on
ground.
touches the ground. The tree's still alive, and it is a good process if you want to create a thicket for deer to lay in.
that's what I thought.
Now you're
Bedding
pretty much
areas?
not going to be riding a 4-wheeler in there or going in there accessing that too much.
But where we did it is so thick, that wouldn't work, period.
No.
Again, you wouldn't make the tree fall because it's so thick.
Yeah.
And to me, hinge cutting it, you're not putting any more sunlight to that ground to create foliage or anything else.
You're getting a little bit, but not like
Because that
what
tree
we're
still
doing.
lives. It still puts out.
Yeah, it
it's
still
just
puts
going to
out.
make a bush pretty much,
yeah.
right?
And it eventually probably will die
Die.
if it breaks on over or you cut it too far or something like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people that I watch do that, and I'm gonna do some of that on some of our property. And, create
Select areas. though.
select areas.
Yeah.
That it may not be at an acre or maybe 2 acres. I'm gonna do that in places we don't ever go or
Sanctuary
fool
type,
with.
sanctuary,
Right,
type places.
type places. I'm gonna hinge cut and put those in. But where we're doing this that's our main forest. That's our main place that our deer
Full of oak
move
trees.
around, full of
Yeah.
oak trees. That's where they feed at night, and we're just trying to start the process of being able to get those desirable trees in better shape and the forest in better shape in those areas.
So they're going to put on more mass because
Mhm.
they don't have as much competition with these
Yeah.
little trees.
And it could have been just pure coincidence, but where we done it last year, all those oak trees right there along that road put way more acorns off this
Way
year than I've
more.
ever
I
seen.
noticed that too. But I mean, you got to think how many trees come out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's more to it than you're just trying to kill a tree. And yes, you're trying to get rid of your undesirable trees, but It's more to it than that. And yeah, you could run through there with a chainsaw all you want, but you'd still be down there cutting. And we can knock out 500 trees in a couple hours.
Yeah, if you've ever seen a gum thicket, I mean, you pretty much, there's no limbs inside of there for anything to build a nest in, except for the
tree
top.
after tree.
They just look like a bunch of toothpicks
Yeah.
sticking up out there, and there's nothing uses them.
So what happens? Those grow like that. It's because more time that was some kind of field
Yeah, it was
or
just
something that used to be some kind of cropland or something that people just let go.
they just let it go.
Yeah,
and that's
that-
the most invasive tree.
Yeah,
that-
them trees are
and it's
going.
windblown seed.
Yeah, they gonna grow faster and get taller and bigger quicker than oak tree will.
Yeah.
So they gonna, if it was oak trees there, they drown them out.
You got a lot of different trees. They're all of them are different. You got acorn trees. I mean, that has a seed that drops on the ground, and like Sweetgum and some other invasive ones, they're windblown seeds, so they just kind of
Disperse.
it blows through the air. And even if you ain't even got a 1,000-acre hay field, don't cut it for about 2 years and see what pops up in it.
It'll be sweet gums.
It'll be Sweetgum.
We're already
first.
seeing it, and you can see it more so on hillsides where the wind does blow and it catches a lot of it.
Mm.
Get sweet gums and thorn trees.
Yeah.
Yep. What is it? Crap. What's that one tree? This got the big thorns on it.
Not
Black
thorns. Oh, what?
Black locust.
Yeah, locust tree. And the other thing was, why don't y'all use that for firewood? You asking for a chimney fire trying to burn some sweet
Well,
gum.
So when the shop was built, it was a blown over sweet gum tree that from that tornado that come through. I got down there and I'm thinking this right here been sitting here for a year. Man, it's like rubber. You could not. It's been laying
Ain't
there for
gonna
a year,
burn.
and you could not split it. You hit them all. I mean,
You better have a really, really hot fire to
Yeah,
put
to
a
burn it.
sweet
Content
gum
on it.
log in
It's
there.
just you think of sweet
Density.
gum, it's gummy tar or
Yeah.
gummy sap. You know, it ain't going nowhere.
And it'll create that sooty,
Creosote.
gummy
Creosote.
creosote all in your chimney. It'll catch on fire.
Yeah.
I can't find anything people say use them for.
I mean,
There's some old tinctures and stuff that they say Indians used for, you can make some medicine out of sweet gum balls or something. But
we
you
got
gotta
a
boil it down and drink.
we got a full fledged pharmacy down there then.
Yeah.
Gotta-
And
But I mean, the other option would be if you didn't do the hack and squirt, or you didn't get in there and spend hours, you could mulch them.
well,
Yeah.
them right
They're
there,
running
you'd
there.
have to have
It's too thick.
you'd have to have a skid steer that's. I mean, you had something bigger than a skid steer to mulch that amount of
Again,
trees.
you're being invasive going in there. To
Or
Tear it up more.
you'd have to have an excavator or bulldozer in there.
But what do you do with them once you get them on the ground?
Then
you
you
got
got
you
them
burn them.
set
you got
on
burn.
fire.
Gotta burn. Well, see, that's what I mean. The hack and squirt goes with prescribed burning because ultimately that's our goal.
Right.
They
We wanna
fall
get-
over, they're going to be dry, they're going to burn up.
We want to get into a burn condition where we can do, select areas, we can rotate out.
Yeah.
Crap,
Yeah,
you
we-
just said burn. Here comes another controversy.
I mean, hey, it really is a good thing.
But
It
that's
is.
the
That's the
proper
best
way
thing
to
for your
manage a
forest you can
forest.
do. It's the best thing you can do
Yeah.
for your forest.
I'll be 100% honest. When we first started talking burning, I was the first person in my mind like that's just no way, no, and
It doesn't sound right.
no, and I got to researching, and I mean, if you look back, that's God's way of replenishing the earth anyway.
That's right.
They go in and burn all the junk off and fresh new green grass is on the ground. Like me and Mark was in Arkansas last year riding. There was thousands of acres.
Some of them still smoking.
They
And it
done
already had green
prescribed
grass
burning
growing.
on it,
Really?
and you can see where they burn it in sections. And this has been the guy said some of it been a couple of weeks since they burned it, and it already had 6 or 8 inch tall blades of green grass everywhere out there.
Well, 200 years ago when the Indians were, all over the country,
They didn't have a
they
tractor
didn't
and bush
have all
hog.
that stuff.
No,
so
that's what they
the way
done. They
they
burned.
managed their property and the way God managed the property and just nature in general, lightning strikes hit those grasslands and stuff and would burn them off. And the Indians figured out burning them down, and it regenerates and brings back those grasses and
Right.
things that they can utilize.
The only other complaint I seen says you're spraying a chemical on a tree.
All right, I got a comment on that.
I do too.
So
You ever seen a
same-
skidder that didn't leak?
well,
I think
no, I got
that hydraulic fluid is way worse than what we put in them trees.
I got something better than that. The same people that's griping about the chemical, the same people playing the guy that comes spray chemical on their yard every day
on pretty grass.
to clean the grass. The same people that washing their car out in the yard with chemical. The same people, it can go on.
I
and
worked on equipment. I ain't never seen a skidder that didn't leak. I ain't never seen a chainsaw you didn't spill gas on or chain
Spit
bar
oil the
oil.
whole
Yeah.
time.
If you're using chemicals properly, you're using the right ratio, the right amount, you're not overspraying where it runs off. I mean,
You're not washing your buckets off in the local
Yeah.
spring. I mean,
And we
it's
did-
common sense.
Before we done this, made sure for the next couple of days it wasn't gonna rain, and it
Yeah.
didn't. I mean, it was cold, but it didn't rain.
that you can misuse chemicals, but they are a very I guess,
Important
quick
tool.
way. Yeah, it's an important tool to use if you can use them. You know, you just got to make sure you're using them properly.
Not next to water source and all that. I mean, it's either way. There's always a negative side effect no matter what you do. Whether you went in there with a chainsaw, the only way you're gonna go in there and cut it and not hurt anything, get you a hatchet out, and that ain't me.
I ain't got the trees with hatchet.
But there's a lot of ways to manage trees, manage forests. There's nothing wrong with. I don't think there's nothing wrong with any of them as long as you're managing them. You know, if you use equipment, that's a process. And if if that's what's best for your property, that's what you use. If it's a chainsaw, if it's a skidder or, logging or something like that, there's nothing wrong with that. But, in our instance, this is we just wanted to show everybody how we kind of managed our forest with that process in that area. And, other areas, if we ever find somebody log it, we're going to log it.
And we did try.
Oh, yeah.
We reached out to multiple sources trying to get somebody to come in and do some logging, and it was
You have to have a big enough piece of property for them to be interested in
Justified.
it.
Right. Wood's got to be worth something.
Right,
If Sweetgum wood was worth something, they'd want it.
Yeah.
My biggest selling point is you go down there right now and take a picture of that property y'all done that on, and it's untouched. You'll never know anybody's been there. You go down to somebody where a logging company's done been there a week later. Tell me what it looks like.
Yeah, the 40 acres down the road from us. Looks like a tornado went through. It's horrible.
Like a bomb hit it.
It's horrible.
I mean, they clear cut every tree. Well, not every tree. The ones they left were really crappy.
And that, I mean, not a single wildlife piece of animal out there ever knew y'all was there. I mean, they'll be back through there feeding that afternoon.
Yeah, they were back out there in front of the camera.
Right.
But I mean, there's nothing wrong with logging your property. There's nothing wrong with it. There's
If
different
it fits.
there's different contracts you can get, and that's something you need to be careful of. When you hire somebody, you make sure it's in the contract that they put your roads back the way they found them, and different things. You need to get somebody, a forester or something, to negotiate that for you. You don't
say me and Mikey talked to the guy, and that's what he was very, very, very pushed is watch what your contract says, because just because a logger guy's gonna come log, you better make sure what you're getting and what they're leaving.
Yeah, because some of them will come in there, and I'm not.
Like, so everybody's not this
heard.
way.
Everybody's heard stories about this, but there's people that take advantage of.
That's
people,
right.
And you got to be careful. You got to make sure they're on the up and up, and they're a good company, and best thing to do is hire you a forester.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're out there. You can find them.
Well, if you're going to do the hack and squirt, talk to a biologist.
Yeah, you need to talk to a
Most people
biologist.
states have, assistant type programs that are free. Like that's how we got to talking to them. In Mississippi, I mean, they will come out. You set up an appointment. They'll meet you at your property and give you advice on what to do. They want to make the land better too. So that's one of those services. And we pay taxes. It pays their salary.
And we were asked, I guess it was last year when we met down there, like, what do y'all want? Do y'all want a beautiful property that's you're gonna turn around and turn profit on timber, or do you want a property for wildlife and game and whatever? And that's
They
what we're
look
going
totally
towards.
different.
Yeah, they are.
That
They
is
do.
a totally different management process.
Yeah, if we're doing timber for money, we'd have come in there with the equipment and took it all out and set it back out and been done. But from a deer hunting perspective or just a hunting in general, what we want to do, we want to be the least impact on the land.
Yeah. You find you a biologist in your area, and the state has them. We've had John Grucci on here. He spoke about some things that he helped us do, and he's not our biologist up here anymore.
Yeah.
We got a new one, but you talk to those guys and let them come out, let them get on your property and kind of access. I ain't even saying that. Assess.
Yeah,
I
there
got
we
tongue
go.
twisted there for a minute. Assess your property, and then you tell them, like, they're going to ask you, what do you want to do? How do you want to maintain this forest? How do you want? What do you?
What's your
want?
goal? What's
What
your
is
long-term goal?
What's your long-term goal? And you tell him, and they will tell you step by step what you need to do. Food plots, trees, all of these different things. Native grasses, how to manage them. They give you ideas on what to do, and they give you options on what to do too. And the hack and squirt was one of the options.
Yeah.
That was the most efficient way for us to clean up our woods the way we wanted them.
And pretty much what we took out the other day, in the past 2 years, we've gone and replanted that in different locations. I mean,
That's exactly what you do.
We've probably, I ain't gonna say we planted as many trees as we killed,
Heck no,
because
we've-
it's a lot
we've-
harder to plant trees than it is.
We hacked a lot of trees.
But we've put mass bearing,
we've
desirable trees back when
planted
we've taken out
Yeah.
the non-desirables.
We've planted 100 oak trees, and I don't know how many persimmon trees and different things that our animals are going to utilize, so the trees that we took out, we've replaced those back. We just didn't go out and wipe them out. You know?
And we did find, I think, what I tell you, 2 persimmon trees in that thicket, and we of course, left them in there. But
Yeah, we dodge all those.
yeah,
Well, you do. So when you do the hack and squirt, you're really learning your woods too.
You are.
Because you're going there through there, you're identifying where your good trees are. You might find some. It's kind of like scouting.
yeah,
Yeah.
You know, when you get that looking the way you want it to look, you know you can go back in there and hunt because there's a big white oak in there that we left, or there's a persimmon tree that's going to be ready to bow hunt, or it just lets you see your land. You get more familiar with it. I mean, as far as from the chemical standpoint, you can talk to your biologist is going to tell you what kind of
Biologist
chemicals. You're going
gonna
to
tell
talk to your co-op guy. He's going to tell you how to mix it. You know what safety equipment you need and all that. It's not just go run to Lowe's or Walmart and buy some tree killer, and you're going to go out and start hacking them. You know,
Yeah, I think one guy
poison them. It ain't
commented on
that
there.
easy.
What do you say? Read the label, dumbass, or something
Yeah.
like that. I read the label. I said call you local co-op.
Yeah.
Somebody that does not have the certification that I have
Right.
to.
You can't
Find
just go
out.
buy that chemical.
Yeah.
You have
I
to
mean,
be
I think
certified.
anybody can buy it, can't they?
You can anybody can buy that one.
It's not. It's not.
and you
like
don't
a-
have to buy.
Yeah.
Somebody made a comment about a $700 jug. It's not a $700
Oh Lord,
jug.
no. I wouldn't have bought that junk if it was.
Yeah, and you can't. I mean, we
I mean, that's one thing is a budget. The
Yeah.
hack and
Yeah.
squirt's budget minded.
Yeah.
You know?
and you can buy it in, I guess, a quart size or smaller size. You don't have to buy a 2.5
that
gallon
gallon jug will last you years.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much?
It'll
of
go bad before you use all of
Yeah.
it.
So we used.
Probably
Yeah.
not even a gallon.
It was two, probably 24-ounce spray bottles,
Squirt
probably
bottles.
30 or 24-ounce or 32-ounce spray bottles. That's what we used 2 of them the whole
Yeah.
and the whole time we was there.
And I think when me and Mark we did a larger area than y'all did that time, and I think we filled the bottles up.
We
twice.
might have used a gallon.
Yeah, we might have used
That
a gallon.
not a straight
not a-
chemical.
no, not a
That's
straight
a
chemical.
diluted
No.
chemical.
What do you
that's
dilute
diluted.
that to? You know, off the top of your head,
It ain't much.
Yeah, it's
20 to 1, or
I think it's more than that.
Hell, I can't even remember, Mal.
just whatever they said at the co-op.
Whatever,
Yeah,
it
whatever
says
co-op
on the
guy
label.
said.
Whatever
read
it said
the
on
label.
the label.
Yeah,
Read the
read
label.
the label.
But now, hopefully, that cleared it up. And I mean, it's a reason for it, and it is beneficial. But again, do what fits your property, what your local biologist says.
Yeah,
Do your research.
that's the main point. We were just getting that out there to show everybody a process that they may or may not have known about.
It stirred the pot. Now people know what hack and squirt is.
yeah,
I like it.
Don't go do it to your neighbor's trees.
no,
Yeah.
That was a couple comments on there too.
Yeah.
Hey, some guy did it to
Auburn.
Toomer's Corner in Auburn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Killed the
Alabama
hell out of
fan.
'em.
He would have did the
And
same
that was oak
thing.
trees or
It
whatever
was
they were.
live oaks.
Yeah.
They've been there for years, like hundreds of years.
if you ever do that and you get off your property and do something like that and have to pay for trees,
Oh,
You
yeah,
pay for their
They
grown
fix it.
value.
you fix to file bankruptcy
Man,
because depending on the size and how old it is how much that tree costs.
yeah.
At the end of the day, we done the hack and squirt to have better nesting for what? Turkeys.
Turkeys. Yeah, that's right.
Now
It's
we can talk
now
about
we can
what we
talk
want to talk
turkey season.